Is a car escort for the leader there, the South Korean president, leaving for that historic summit. So Moon Jae-In in one of those cars. He is going to the demilitarized zone, the land between North and South Korea that is looked at as a neutral zone, for a summit, a meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Now, this will be the first summit between the Koreas in more than a decade. Remember, tensions have been high over the past number of years, with North Korea working on its nuclear program and testing out various missiles. So there's a lot of expectation and a lot of pressure on the summit that will take place in just a few hours' time. So obviously he's getting a goodbye wave from a crowd gathered here as he takes off for that demilitarized zone. Once again, this is a summit that's going to take place where denuclearization will be on the table. There has been an indication from Kim that he's ready to have it on the table. He's willing to discuss this. He's already agreed to the closure of a site and to stop testing nuclear weapons, which get tested underground. But how far is he willing to go? Is he willing to get rid of the program entirely, meaning dismantle any weapons that already exist, or agree to scale back any other facilities that are in place in North Korea? That could come up, and likely will come up, between these two countries, as well as what to do to further cooperate with each other in ways that they can.
The first North Korean leader to set foot in the South. He paused for photographs with the South Korean president. Then they made their way to what's known as the Peace House, where the dictator left this message in the guest book: "A new history begins now." CTV's Joy Melvin on the unprecedented encounter, elaborate welcome, and another summit that could change everything.
Tonight, Kim Jong-un walked into history across a slab of concrete marking the demilitarized zone, the heavily armed border into South Korea, something no North Korean leader has ever done before. In a welcoming ceremony, the two leaders inspected an honor guard, smiled and posed for pictures, walking the red carpet towards the Peace House. Once on the verge of war, President Moon Jae-In and Kim will discuss brokering peace and denuclearization in face-to-face talks. This summit sets the stage for another first, talks between Kim and President Trump.
Here's another look at a moment that is being called historic, an historic step forward in relations on the Korean Peninsula. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un crossing over into the south for a high-level summit with President Moon Jae-in. That meeting ended with a promise to end the war between their nations within a year. The entire event was packed with symbolism, celebrating the cultures of both sides of the border. And that theme, no more evident than during the leaders' banquet. Kim Jong-un was reportedly served a Swiss potato dish, a nod to his time studying in Switzerland. South Korea's president ate fish found in his hometown. The leaders also dined on North Korea's signature dish of cold noodles and enjoyed a mango mousse featuring a map of a unified Korean peninsula. So, with the historic summit now over, what was achieved? What do things look like moving forward? We want to go live now to South Korea. That's where we find CNN's Paula Hancock standing by with the latest. Paula, glad you could be with us. Give us the details on how this summit played out. Certainly it seemed choreographed right down to the finest detail.
Absolutely, Marcia, yes. I mean, this was all about the optics. This was about two leaders who had never met before, who were leaders of countries that are technically still at war, showing that that they could have a relationship. They were building trust, we heard from both leaders. We saw that they were smiling, they were shaking hands, they were even embracing after they signed that declaration. So certainly this is the sort of image that a number of months ago you would never have thought possible. Now, there were some firsts here. We saw the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, coming down to the MDL, the military demarcation line, which splits the Korean Peninsula, and stepping over into the south. And then at the same time, he took Moon Jae-in's hand. They decided to go to the north. So they have stood on both sides of the DMZ. That in itself is pretty historic. It's the first time we've seen a North Korean leader, in any case, crossing the MDL and heading south. Now, we did have, at the end of the day, a signed declaration. there were fairly broad terms used in this declaration. Denuclearization was actually one of the last things on the list, saying that that both countries would work towards a complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. It's a fairly stock phrase that we have heard before, so clearly these two leaders leaving the more tricky details to future meetings. But they did also talk about the fact that they were going to work towards a declaration of the end of the Korean War. It's still technically going. There was only an armistice signed back in 1953, but there was also a recognition that North and South Korea can't do that themselves. They need the US and China to be involved, as they were the original signatories of the armistice. And then another couple of issues, for example, family reunions of families split by the Korean War. They had decided that they should go ahead. They have said there should be no more hostilities between North and South Korea, and to make sure there is momentum, as well as that meeting that's coming up with US President Donald Trump. We know that Moon Jae-In will be going to Pyongyang in North Korea in the autumn, and Kim Jong-un himself saying they now have a phone line between each other, so they can keep in touch. Marcia?
And the issue of denuclearization, what is in it for Kim Jong-un to give up nuclear weapons?
It's a good question. We don't know still at the end of this summit what Kim Jong-un wants. We don't know what concessions he wants from South Korea, from the United States, if he wants economic, financial aid, if he wants US troops to be removed from South Korea. Now, we know that President Moon, before this summit happened, said that Kim Jong-un hadn't specifically asked that to be one of the conditions that US troops are removed, but it's certainly something that's been asked in the past. We don't know what the detail is going to be, and of course that age-old cliche, the devil is in the detail, and it does apply in this case because they can agree, and they have agreed, and they have signed to denuclearize Korea, the Korean Peninsula, but we don't know exactly what this will look like at this point. But it is significant that Kim Jong-un has signed a piece of paper with the word denuclearization on it, but there is an awful lot left to be decided.
Paula Hank.